Welcome back to Mr. Beast Pod, where we, dive deep into some of Mr. Beast's most popular YouTube videos.
Oh, it.
Today, we're going to be talking about men vs. women survive the wilderness for $500,000. Buckle up, folks, because this one is a wild ride.
I am so ready. Let's do it.
All right, so the premise is pretty simple. 5 men and 5 women are dropped into separate wilderness locations with the goal of outlasting the other team, the prize. A cool $500,000 split between the survivors.
Sounds easy enough, right?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But of course, this is Mr. Beast we're talking about, so things get a little crazy.
Understatement of the year.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We've got strategic self-elimination, surprise challenges, tempting cash offers to quit, and oh yeah, a bear encounter that'll have you on the edge of your seat.
Only MrBeast could pull that off.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, you see these two very different approaches from the men's team and the women's team. The men are all bravado, like, oh, there's no way the girls are going to beat us. But the women, they immediately shift into strategic mode, like they're assessing their resources, figuring out their strengths and weaknesses, and how to play the long game.
Yeah, it's like they instinctively understood that this wasn't just about physical strength. It was about planning, conservation, and teamwork.
Exactly. And that's perfectly illustrated in their decision to embrace strategic self-elimination.
Right. It seems counterintuitive, but they realized that fewer mouths to feed meant their supplies would last longer.
It's like they were thinking about sustainability even in this crazy high-pressure environment.
It makes you wonder if they were secretly preppers or something.
Maybe. But meanwhile, the men, they were initially focused on individual strength. It was almost like they thought brute force was going to be enough to win.
Yeah, and that's a classic mistake in survival situations.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
And as the challenge goes on, they start to realize that teamwork and camaraderie are just as important for survival, not just physically, but mentally as well.
I mean, you're stuck out in the wilderness with nothing but your thoughts and a couple of teammates. Those social bonds become crucial.
For sure. And their shelter situation is a great visual representation of this.
Mhm.
The women build this sturdy, resilient shelter, while the men's structure is, well, less robust.
You can tell just by looking at it that the women were in it for the long haul.
Right. And when those storms hit, the women have a clear advantage. They're dry, they're protected. Meanwhile, the men are struggling to keep their shelter from collapsing.
It's almost symbolic, isn't it? Like the women's shelter represents their foresight and planning, while the men's shelter it will reflects their more haphazard approach.
Definitely. Now, let's talk about those challenges Mr. Beast throws their way, because things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah. MrBeast never disappoints when it comes to crazy challenges.
So one example is this archery contest to win food supplies. And it's not just about skill. It becomes a psychological battle, too.
Because at that point, neither team knows how many members the other team has left. So every decision is shrouded in this uncertainty.
Exactly. And then there's a classic Mr. Beast dilemma, the offer of $50,000 to just walk away from the whole thing.
Oh man, talk about a test of loyalty and ambition. Would you take the guaranteed money for yourself or stick it out with your team for a chance at the bigger prize?
It really makes you think about what you would prioritize in that kind of situation.
No kidding. I mean, are you in it for the money or the glory or just the experience?
Right. And it's not just about the strategic choices. It's also about the psychological toll that this challenge takes on these people.
I mean, think about it. They're dealing with isolation, hunger, sleep deprivation, the constant pressure to win. It all adds up.
And we see moments of vulnerability where contestants break down under the stress, but then you also see these incredible moments of resilience where they're pushing through the pain and the exhaustion.
It really highlights the power of the human spirit, you know, that ability to adapt and endure even in the most challenging circumstances.
It's pretty inspiring. The women in particular seem to adapt to the isolation a bit better, almost using it to their advantage, focusing on their individual tasks and strategies.
It's like they found a sense of peace in the solitude, which is pretty amazing.
While the men were clearly missing that camaraderie, they really struggled without that support system.
Shows you how we all cope with stress and isolation so differently.
And then there's Phaedra, who emerges as the sole survivor of the women's team. Her journey is just captivating.
Oh yeah, Phaedra is amazing. The way she handles the isolation, her resourcefulness, her strategic thinking, she's a force of nature.
Totally. I mean, while the guys are freaking out about a bear encounter at their camp, Phaedra is calmly collecting resources and planning her next move.
Speaking of that bear encounter, talk about unpredictable.
I know. And it wasn't just about the immediate danger, it was the psychological impact. The reminder that even the best laid plans can be disrupted by the unexpected.
It definitely rattled the men's morale. You see this domino effect where more of them choose to self-eliminate out of fear rather than strategic calculation.
Yeah. They were starting to lose hope. It's a stark reminder that mental fortitude is just as crucial as physical strength when it comes to survival.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of mental fortitude, we've got to talk about that final challenge and how everything comes down to one crucial decision.
But that, my friend, is a story for our next segment.
Stay tuned, folks. This is just getting good. Okay, so we're back to this wilderness showdown. Picking up where we left off with Phaedra and TJ, the sole survivors, battling it out for that $500,000.
And remember, at this point, TJ is feeling pretty confident, right? He's talking about day 60, maybe day 70 max.
Yeah, he's had that boost from being with Patrick, that camaraderie and the extra food. But Phaedra, dealing with isolation, she's been incredibly resourceful.
And that sets the stage for the day 60 challenge, which is a test of negotiation and really understanding your opponent. Both contestants can write down a request, but both have to agree for either of them to get anything.
So it's a mental game, too. It'll be interesting to see how they approach this.
Right, so TJ goes big. He asks for a private chef for 7 days, 2 meals a day, fully stocked with spices and ingredients. It would be huge for morale and energy.
And Phaedra, what does she ask for?
An art kit.
An art kit?
Yeah, pretty simple request, especially compared to a private chef.
It almost seems insignificant, but I bet there's more to it.
Oh, absolutely. There's a brilliant strategy at play here.
So what's she thinking?
She's playing the psychology game. TJ is focused on immediate needs, on physical comfort. Phaedra's request is all about mental well-being, finding an outlet in that isolation.
Wow, so she's thinking long term.
Exactly. And TJ completely underestimates her. Approves the art kit without a second thought, thinking he's about to get his private chef.
And that's gotta sting, seeing her deny his request after he approved hers.
Right. It's a turning point. Phaedra gets her art supplies. She's in it for the long haul. She's ready. And she wins extra food by being faster than TJ, even though he thought he had that stamina advantage.
Because she's been surviving on limited rations for longer, she's adapted.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like she's playing chess while he's playing checkers. But then MrBeast tries to get into TJ's head, brings up his son Lincoln to try and make him forfeit.
Oh, wow. That's harsh even for MrBeast.
It is. But it shows the emotional pressure these contestants are under.
Family, that can be powerful motivation, but it can also be a weakness.
And Phaedra calls him out on it. She says, I don't really think you should use people's children's names as weapons against them. She's got principles.
You can tell she means it. She's a strong person.
Meanwhile, TJ is starting to break down. He's running out of food. Morale is plummeting. He's questioning everything.
Makes you wonder, was it all worth it?
And then the moment of truth arrives. MrBeast brings the remaining contestants and the eliminated members of both teams to a central location for the big reveal.
The tension must have been insane.
Oh, I bet everyone wondering, did their teammate make it? The person who forfeited steps out of the vehicle, and it's one of the men. The women's team is won.
What a moment. Phaedra's journey, it's a victory for the whole team.
Totally. The joy on their faces, the relief, it's amazing to see. They went through so much together.
Even the ones who self-eliminated early on contributed to this win.
It really shows the power of strategy and resilience. I mean, even in the toughest circumstances, we can achieve incredible things when we work together, when we don't give up.
Inspiring, that's the word for it.
We've still got to unpack the broader implications of this challenge, the winning strategies, what we can all learn from this.
Oh yeah, there's so much to discuss.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm still thinking about that ending. The women's team pulling off the win Phaedra's reunion with her team. It's just
Like a total underdog story. They're underestimated, outmatched physically.
But they had that strategy and the mental toughness.
Exactly. So what were those key strategies? What made the women so successful?
Well, I think their commitment to the long game was huge. They knew it wasn't about brute force.
It was about thinking ahead, planning.
Resource management, being smart about risks and prioritizing the team.
And that early decision to eliminate team members' bold move.
It was. But it worked. Fewer mouths to feed their supplies lasted.
Turning a weakness into a strength that's impressive.
And their shelter. It protected them during those storms.
You could tell they put the work in. It was built to last.
More than just comfort. It was about survival.
And Phaedra, she was a great leader. Calm and collected.
Resourceful, always thinking ahead.
Real leadership qualities.
While TJ, he made some mistakes.
Yeah.
Overconfidence, impulsive decisions.
And that final negotiation got a little greedy.
It shows, even in tough situations, got to think strategically.
Can't let emotions take over.
So what can we learn from all this, even if we're not, surviving in the wilderness?
Well, strategic thinking, it's important everywhere. Work, personal goals.
Even just dealing with tough situations. Having a plan helps.
And resilience life throws curveballs.
It's how we respond that matters.
You gotta adapt, persevere, be creative.
And teamwork. Having a good team makes all the difference.
People who support you, push you.
And MrBeast, he's not just about entertainment.
He creates these situations that really test people.
They reveal character, show us what we're capable of.
So next time you face a challenge, remember this.
Think strategically, be resilient, embrace teamwork.
Don't give up, and if someone offers you an art kit,
Take it, could come in handy.
you never know.
That's it for our deep dive into Men vs. Women Survive the Wilderness for $500,000. Be sure to check out the full video on MrBeast's YouTube channel.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep pushing your boundaries.